One of the technologies that we have that's been quite researched in the field is the picture exchange communication system. We also refer to it as PECS, with the initials for that. And in that program, what happens is the child learns to connect the act of giving a picture of something that they want to a communication partner to get the item. And it starts off in a very basic way, and it can start. You can have a child who has showing minimal communication ability, because you start off with just one picture of the item that's a desired motivating item, and then the child learns through a series of, initially you can start with hand over hand, and then gradually fading the cues to give to get, so to speak. After that first phase, or the first step, they learn to travel to the partner, and then eventually they learn to discriminate among pictures so that they can give, if they want, drink, they give drink. If they want a toy, they give the picture for the toy. But that system, I think, is really, really important and very valuable for kids with autism in particular, because it gets that connection, that communicative connection going. So that's the first step, getting communication going. The next step is when we have a child who's showing us a desire and ability to communicate, and the idea that I know that I have to tell you something. For a child who has a really limited vocabulary initially and doesn't have a lot of ability to scan through a number of pictures or picture symbols, we would probably start them off with a very basic kind of a system that would maybe just have a display with maybe anywhere from 9 to maybe 20 picture symbols, and then teach them to, okay, if you want this, you point to this and it says it, and so forth. You can get into, there's a lot of aspects of the technology. There's also, like that, really basic devices usually use what we call digitized speech, which is essentially human recorded, digitally recorded speech, which is easy to do for the family. They can just quickly speak the message into the device, and then put the picture on the page, and help the child learn to use it. Those devices are really low cost and easy for families to get, even if, on their own, without having to go through insurance or other kinds of things, and are good basic places to start. A lot of times school districts will have those available, and they'll loan them to the child to kind of get a start with. And then a next level up would be for a child who has more extensive vocabulary needs and is able to, kind of go through and look through a lot of different, pictures or vocabulary. And for those children, using devices that have what we call a dynamic display, like a computer display or iPad display or that sort of thing, where there can be different strategies for how the pictures are organized. I typically like to organize them in kind of a way in an activity base, so that if you are wanting to have vocabulary related to mealtime, you go to a mealtime display, or if you have vocabulary related to play, you go to a play display, and then you can use the various vocabulary to communicate. So those are the kinds of things that you want to kind of think about in terms of the device you choose, the vocabulary you want to have on the device. So it's not just like you're saying point to this, point to this, point to that, but you're setting up a motivating context where they have to ask for something. So you might have the bubbles or something up on the shelf, and they see the bubbles, and then they're like, or looking at it, and then you might kind of maybe model initially, oh, want bubbles, and then you give them some bubbles, and then you take them away, and then they have to ask again, and then you might once they kind of get the idea, oh yeah, that's the way I can communicate. A lot of times what you'll see with a child who's really ripe for that is they'll start to kind of look and then figure out something else and ask for it. But essentially you want to actually demonstrate that there's that capability that the child has, and to kind of, before you're going to recommend a device.